What happens when one of Hollywood's most intense actors comes face to face with a morning show host who thinks he can play hardball? Well, you're about to witness one of the most brutal exchanges ever caught on live television, and trust me, you won't believe how this escalates. Make sure you subscribe and drop a comment telling me what you think about what Tom Hardy does here, because this is absolutely wild. So there's Tom Hardy, sitting across from George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America, and you can already sense the tension in the air. Hardy's there to promote his latest film, but Stephanopoulos has other plans. The actor's wearing his usual understated style, a simple black jacket, but there's something in his eyes that suggests he's not in the mood for games. Tom, thanks for joining us this morning. Stephanopoulos begins, that practiced television smile plastered across his face. Your new film is getting incredible reviews, but I want to talk about something else first. Hardy shifts slightly in his chair, his jaw tightening just a fraction. Sure, George. What's on your mind? Well, there's been some controversy surrounding your comments about method acting and mental health. Some critics are saying you've been irresponsible in how you approach your craft. The camera catches Hardy's expression change immediately, his eyes narrow, and you can see him processing what just happened. This wasn't supposed to be an ambush interview. Irresponsible? Hardy's voice is calm, but there's an edge to it that anyone who knows his work would recognize. That's an interesting word choice, George. Care to elaborate? Stephanopoulos leans forward, clearly thinking he's in control here. Several mental health advocates have criticized your recent interviews where you discussed diving deep into dark psychological spaces for your roles. They're saying you're glamorizing dangerous behavior. And you agree with them? Hardy asks, his Birmingham accent becoming slightly more pronounced as his temperature rises. I'm asking the questions here, Tom. What do you say to parents who might be concerned about young actors following your example? There's a pause. Hardy stares at Stephanopoulos for what feels like an eternity on live television. The studio audience is completely silent, sensing something's about to go very wrong. Parents should be concerned, Hardy finally responds, about morning show hosts who do zero research before ambushing their guests with loaded questions based on secondhand gossip. Stephanopoulos' smile falters for just a moment. Tom, I don't think that's fair. We're just trying to have an honest conversation. Honest? Hardy lets out a short laugh that doesn't reach his eyes. George, mate, if you wanted an honest conversation, you would have mentioned this line of questioning to my publicist. You would have done your homework instead of reading talking points off a teleprompter. But that's not what this is it? I think our viewers deserve to hear your response to these legitimate concerns. Your viewers deserve better than this tabloid garbage masquerading as journalism. Hardy's voice is still controlled, but you can feel the storm building. Tell me, George, when was the last time you researched method acting? When did you speak to actual mental health professionals about the therapeutic benefits of exploring difficult emotions in a controlled professional environment? Stephanopoulos is clearly rattled now, but he's doubling down. Tom, I think you're being defensive here. Defensive? Hardy repeats, and now there's genuine disbelief in his voice. George, I came here at 5 in the morning to talk about a film I'm passionate about. Instead, you're trying to create a gotcha moment based on quotes you've taken completely out of context. That's not defensive. That's called having standards. Well, the quotes speak for themselves. Do they? Because I'd love to hear which specific quotes you're referring to. Can you cite them for me, word for word? The silence stretches uncomfortably long. Stephanopoulos glances at his notes, then back at Hardy. Well, there have been several interviews where you've discussed your intense preparation methods. Several interviews, Hardy repeats slowly. But you can't quote a single one specifically, can you? You can't tell me which publication, which journalist, which exact words I used that you find so problematic. Tom, I think we're getting off track here. No, George, I think we're getting right on track. You've accused me of being irresponsible, of potentially influencing young actors in dangerous ways, but you can't even tell me what I supposedly said. That's not journalism, mate. That's character assassination based on hearsay. The camera shows Stephanopoulos clearly uncomfortable now, his professional composure starting to crack. I have the information right here in my notes. Then read it. Hardy challenges. Read me the exact quote that has you so concerned about my influence on young actors. Stephanopoulos fumbles with his papers, and you can see the sweat starting to form on his forehead. The specific quote isn't as important as the overall pattern of statements. The specific quote isn't important? Hardy's voice rises slightly for the first time. George, you just spent 5 minutes questioning my professional integrity based on something you claim I said, and now you're telling me the actual words don't matter? That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounds like you brought me on this show under false pretenses, so you could ambush me with accusations you can't even properly articulate. The tension in the studio is palpable now. You can see crew members in the background exchanging worried glances, and the camera operators seem unsure whether to keep rolling or cut away. Stephanopoulos tries to regain control, clearing his throat and attempting to steer back to safer ground. Tom, let's talk about your new film. The character you play deals with some heavy themes, but Hardy isn't letting him off the hook that easily. No, George, we're not done here. You just spent several minutes attacking my professional methods based on research you clearly haven't done. You owe your viewers an explanation. I think we should move on. I think you should answer the question. You brought up these mental health advocates who are supposedly concerned about my influence. Name one. Give me a single name of someone who has specifically criticized my approach. Stephanopoulos shifts uncomfortably in his chair. Tom, there have been several articles. Several articles, but no names, no specific quotes, no actual criticism you can point to. Hardy leans forward slightly. George, do you realize you're doing exactly what you're accusing me of? You're potentially damaging someone's reputation based on vague, unsubstantiated claims. That's not the same thing at all. Isn't it? You've just told millions of viewers that mental health advocates think I'm irresponsible. You've suggested that parents should be worried about my influence on young actors. But you can't provide a single piece of evidence to support any of that. The camera captures Stephanopoulos looking increasingly flustered. We have producers who research these topics. Your producers, Hardy repeats, and there's something almost pitying in his tone now. George, let me ask you something. How long have you been in journalism? That's not relevant. I think it's very relevant. Because what you're doing right now isn't journalism. It's gossip. It's the kind of lazy, irresponsible reporting that gives actual journalists a bad name. Stephanopoulos' face is getting red now. Tom, I don't appreciate your tone. And I don't appreciate being ambushed on live television by someone who couldn't be bothered to do basic fact-checking. But here we are. We invited you here as a guest. You invited me here under the pretense of discussing my work, then immediately launched into an attack based on information you can't even verify. That's not hosting, George. That's entrapment. The studio audience is completely silent, watching this train wreck unfold in real time. You can see people in the crew starting to look panicked, probably wondering if they should cut to commercial. Tom, I think you're overreacting. Overreacting? Hardy's voice gets quieter, which somehow makes it more menacing. George, you've just accused me of potentially harming young actors. You've suggested I'm irresponsible in my approach to mental health. You've implied that I'm a bad influence, and you did all of this without a single shred of evidence. How exactly would you like me to react? These are legitimate questions about celebrity responsibility. Based on what? Show me the study. Show me the expert opinion. Show me anything other than your producer's interpretation of what someone might have said about something I might have done. Stephanopoulos looks down at his notes again, clearly stalling. The concerns have been raised in various media outlets. Various media outlets, Hardy echoes. George, do you hear yourself? You sound like a politician dodging a corruption scandal. Various sources say, people are concerned, it's been reported. These are weasel words, mate. This is how people talk when they're making things up. I'm not making anything up. Then prove it. Right now. On air. Show me one specific example of what you're talking about. The silence stretches on forever in television time. Stephanopoulos shuffles his papers, looks at the cameras, looks back at Hardy. Tom, I think we're spending too much time on this. We're spending exactly the right amount of time on this. You made serious accusations against my professional character, and now you're trying to run away when asked to back them up. That's not how this works. Nobody's running away from anything. Then stop deflecting and answer the question. One name, one specific quote, one piece of actual evidence for any of the claims you've made. Stephanopoulos is visibly sweating now. Tom, our research team compiled information from multiple sources. Your research team, Hardy says slowly, compiled information. George, that's not an answer. That's corporate speak. You're hiding behind your research team the same way you're hiding behind these anonymous critics and vague concerns. I'm not hiding behind anything. Then take responsibility. Either admit you don't have specific information to back up your accusations, or provide it. Stop trying to have it both ways. You can see Stephanopoulos looking off camera, probably at his producers, clearly hoping for some kind of rescue. Tom, I think our viewers would prefer to hear about your new film. Our viewers deserve better than this. They deserve hosts who do actual research, instead of ambushing guests with tabloid rumors. They deserve journalists who can back up their questions with facts, instead of hiding behind weasel words and anonymous sources. You're being very aggressive here. I'm being precise. There's a difference. You came at me with serious accusations, and now you're upset that I'm asking you to back them up with actual evidence. That's not aggression, George. That's accountability. The camera shows the studio audience looking completely captivated but also uncomfortable, like they're witnessing something they shouldn't be seeing. Stephanopoulos tries one more time to regain control. Tom, let's try to have a productive conversation here. We could have had a productive conversation if you'd started with honest questions about my actual work instead of manufactured controversy designed to create a viral moment. But you chose this approach, so let's see it through. Stephanopoulos makes one last desperate attempt to salvage the interview. Tom, I understand you're passionate about your work, but surely you can acknowledge that celebrities have a responsibility when they speak publicly about sensitive topics. Hardy stares at him for a long moment, and when he speaks, his voice has an edge that cuts through the studio like a knife. Absolutely, George. Celebrities do have a responsibility. Just like journalists have a responsibility to their audience, just like morning show hosts have a responsibility to prepare properly for their interviews, just like network television has a responsibility to maintain some basic standards of integrity. I think we maintain very high standards here. Do you? Because right now your audience is watching you make accusations you can't support, ask questions based on research you haven't done, and dodge accountability when called out on it. Is that the high standard you're referring to? The camera catches Stephanopoulos' face, and you can see him starting to lose his composure completely. Tom, you're being incredibly difficult. Difficult? Hardy's voice rises slightly, and there's genuine incredulity there. George, you ambushed me with false accusations on live television, and you think I'm being difficult for asking you to back them up with facts? What exactly did you expect would happen here? I expected a professional conversation. Then you should have conducted yourself professionally. You should have done your homework. You should have prepared actual questions instead of tabloid gotcha nonsense. Stephanopoulos looks around desperately, clearly hoping someone will cut to commercial or end this nightmare. Tom, I think we need to wrap this up. Oh, now you want to wrap it up? After you've spent 10 minutes attacking my professional integrity based on nothing? After you've implied to millions of viewers that I'm a dangerous influence on young actors? Now you want to just move on? We have limited time. We had limited time when you decided to waste it on manufactured controversy instead of discussing my actual work. You made that choice, George. You decided this was how you wanted to spend our time together. The studio is dead silent, except for the hum of the cameras. You can see crew members frozen, unsure what to do. This has gone completely off the rails. Tom, I'm going to ask you one more time to please tone it down. Tone it down? Hardy's voice gets quieter again, but somehow more intense. George, you just told me to tone it down. On your show. After you attacked my professional reputation. Do you understand how insulting that is? I'm just trying to have a civil conversation. Civil? Hardy lets out a bitter laugh. There's nothing civil about ambushing a guest with unsubstantiated accusations. There's nothing civil about making claims you can't back up. There's nothing civil about trying to damage someone's reputation for ratings. Stephanopoulos is sweating heavily now, his professional mask completely slipped. Tom, that's not what this is about. Then what is it about? Explain it to me. Explain to your viewers why you brought me here under false pretenses. Explain why you thought it was acceptable to make serious accusations without doing basic fact-checking. Explain why you think journalism means repeating gossip and calling it news. We're trying to ask important questions about celebrity influence. No, you're trying to create controversy where none exists. You're trying to manufacture drama for television ratings. And when called out on it, you're hiding behind vague concepts like celebrity responsibility and important questions. The camera shows Stephanopoulos looking completely defeated, but Hardy isn't done. George, let me ask you something. Do you have children? That's not relevant. I think at Island. Do you have children who might see this interview? Children who might learn from watching how you conduct yourself professionally? Tom, please. Because if you do, what lesson do you think they're learning right now? That it's okay to make accusations without evidence? That it's acceptable to ambush people with lies and call it journalism? That when you're caught in your own negligence, you can just ask people to tone it down and move on? Stephanopoulos looks off camera again, clearly pleading with his producers to end this. Tom, I think we should take a break. A break? Hardy stands up slightly in his chair. George, you don't get to take a break from accountability. You don't get to make serious accusations against someone's character and then just walk away when asked to justify them. Security, Stephanopoulos calls out, and that's when everything goes completely insane. Security? Hardy's voice is filled with disbelief. You're calling security on me for asking you to back up your own questions with facts? This is unbelievable. You can see security guards starting to move toward the set, and Hardy shakes his head in amazement. This is what modern journalism has become, folks, Hardy says, looking directly into the camera now instead of at Stephanopoulos. When a journalist gets called out for shoddy research and unsubstantiated accusations, they call security instead of admitting their mistakes. Tom, you need to calm down, one of the security guards says as he approaches. Calm down? Hardy looks at the guard, then back at Stephanopoulos. I'm sitting in my chair, speaking in complete sentences, asking for basic journalistic standards. What exactly do I need to calm down from? Stephanopoulos has completely lost control now. Remove him from the set. On what grounds? Hardy asks, still sitting calmly in his chair. For asking you to provide evidence for your accusations? For expecting you to do your job professionally? As security moves closer, Hardy stands up slowly, deliberately. This is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. I came here to talk about my work, and I'm being removed from the set for expecting basic journalistic integrity. He looks directly into the camera one more time. Folks, this is what happens when you ask for accountability in modern media. Remember this moment. And with that, Tom Hardy walks off the set under his own power, leaving Stephanopoulos sitting there looking completely shell-shocked, the studio audience in stunned silence, and television history made. The camera lingers on Stephanopoulos for a few more seconds, showing him trying to compose himself, shuffling his papers with shaking hands, before finally cutting away to what had to be an unplanned commercial break. What did you think of that absolutely brutal exchange? Tom Hardy didn't just defend himself, he completely exposed the shallow, tabloid style of modern morning television. Subscribe if you want to see more breakdowns of moments when celebrities refuse to play the game, and drop a comment telling me which part of Hardy's takedown hit the hardest for you.